Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It's Sunday once more, and that means it's time for another episode of the Captain's Table. This last week has actually been pretty quiet for me, and that is both good news and bad news. It's good news for me. It means my life is finally returning to some semblance of normalcy. Not a lot has been going on, not a lot of drama, not a lot of entertainment, which means I've basically just been working a lot, haven't been doing anything overly exciting, haven't played any new games or done anything new and exciting, no new movies to report on this last week. Bad news is basically for you guys, which really equates to the fact that I've got nothing new in my life personally to report on. Work has been going well. Things have been pretty stable where I'm at. In fact, things have been going surprisingly well. In fact, so well. When I started my job 5 weeks ago, I had something like 20 units that were established in need of what's known as make-ready status. Basically, they needed to be painted, they needed to be serviced, they needed to be cleaned and carpet cleaned so that the leasing office could show them and rent them. And while we've had a few units that were nowhere near make-ready, rented for what was effectively ASP status, we've been able to effectively get them done, and all of the other units have been effectively cleared out of our make-ready system. Now, I've done about 15 of those units. 5 of those units were actually already good to go. They had actually been painted and serviced, and some of them had already been cleaned and carpet cleaned, so it was really just more of an inspection that needed to be done beforehand. And as a result, as of today, with the exception of the units coming available for the end of the month, and one that is basically coming available here in 3 days due for the end of the month, we've pretty much caught up on all of our make-ready units. So today was actually kind of leisurely. Well, I say leisurely. I still had to do quite a bit of the standard stuff associated with my Saturday schedule, basically cleaning, a lot of cleaning, especially in the common areas, and of course trash and recycling. Since new employer is tired of paying me a significant amount of overtime, as I mentioned last week, 9 hours of overtime on my current check, which did arrive as I expected a day earlier than normal, but that's just because of my bank. Quite happy with that. Employer, not so much, and that's mostly just because it's, well, I mean, the employer, they've got to pay it either way, and it was necessary overtime. It's not like I tried to milk the system, but no employer particularly wants to look at a situation and go, why are we paying this employee so many hours of overtime? 9.5 hours of it. A nice big check for me. As a result, though, supervisor basically came back and said, hey, well, you know, we can probably leave our recycling bins out a day earlier than normal. Now, the recycling gets picked up on Monday morning at about 7 a.m. and that's when we start. So unless we want to show up at like 6 in the morning and get those recycling bins out on Monday, and since I don't work Monday, it's not going to be me, it effectively comes down to whoever is supposed to work Sunday. And since there's nobody working Sunday right now, it kind of falls to whoever's on call, or in this case, the F&G, which would be me, to come in on Sunday and take out those recycling bins. Well, my supervisor suggested that I should just go ahead and take them out at the end of my day, and we just leave them out all of Sunday, pick up on Monday morning, and bring them back in. And since my plans are basically to do nothing on Sunday, I decided that I was going to, in fact, take them out on Saturday and just not worry about the overtime, considering that somehow, in spite of actually not working any overtime, not being called in because of my clock in and clock out, and the traffic being particularly light on the routes that I chose to get to work, I had almost an hour and a half, well, nearly an hour and 45 minutes of overtime for last week. So on Friday, end of the pay week, I actually got to leave 30 minutes early, still ended up with nearly 45 minutes overtime. So I'm not too concerned about losing out on potential income by taking care of these dumpsters early. Outside of my particular blasé experience at work and kind of trying to work out my schedule so that I'm not too much on the overtime, my mother did experience a bit of an unfortunate situation happen to her. Now, to give you a little bit of a recap situation, if you have forgotten, I think I might have mentioned it. My mother, a couple of weeks ago, had to go in for a hernia surgery. Now, my mom doesn't make a lot of money, so for her to miss a couple of weeks of work to take care of a surgery, especially, is not the best financially for her. But the good news is my father and other family support systems are in place, and she's, you know, not hurting for money. However, my mom made a, well, critical error with universal karma. And that is the classic error in all of the movies, and this trope does in fact exist, if you're ever wondering, of the it couldn't possibly get worse. And basically what it came down to for her was she had her hernia surgery, and because of the insurance that she had, a lot of it was mostly not covered. So she ended up having to pay out of pocket for the deductible associated with her insurance. If you're not an American and you're wondering what a deductible is, it's basically your out-of-pocket expense for taking care of issues. Depending on your insurance, it can range from anywhere as low as $250 to as much as $5,000. It can be quite expensive. And then, depending on your insurance premiums and the insurance package that you can have anywhere from a max out-of-pocket of something like $2,000 to as much as $10,000. It really does depend on what your company offers or what package you buy elsewhere. So, my mom is a fairly unfortunate person when it comes to the insurance options available to her at her age with her company and through the state of Oregon. And the package that she had basically resulted in her paying quite a substantial amount on the deductible just for her hernia surgery. But the good news is that deductible was high enough that it basically also met her max out of pocket for the year on top of that. That's good news and bad news. Now, that's bad news if you don't have any other injuries or issues that result in a doctor's appointment, pills, surgeries, MRIs, things like that. That's good news, however, if you do have those things. And after the hernia surgery, my mother commented to her doctor and several other people. She said, I've maxed out my deductible and I've hit my max out of pocket for the year. This would be a really good year for me to break my leg. 1 week later, I woke up at 8 in the morning to a text message from my mother saying that she had slipped and fallen in her shower, had gone to the ER, and had determined that she had, in fact, broken her leg. Following, by the end of the week, her visit with the orthopedic surgeon determined that she did, in fact, break her leg not once, but twice. Right below the kneecap, a horizontal and vertical break. Basically, breaks, 2 different directions, resulting in a necessary need for surgery, and the fact that she can't put weight on the leg for 12 weeks. The good news is she doesn't have to pay for any of that because she's hit her max out of pocket for the year. The bad news is it means she's going to lose money on her end because she can't go to work for a couple more weeks on top of being out of work for her hernia surgery. It's going to be a little bit tight for her. However, again, financial support from my father and pulling from her own retirement account can be done, so she's not at the very least going to end up homeless. Plus, again, all the support from her own brothers and my granny, her mother, down there. The downside, of course, means that she is going to miss my birthday party here in a couple of weeks. And it would have been nice to see her, but it's not my big birthday as far as I'm concerned. It is just a birthday party. Beyond that, though, not a lot has been going on. I am planning to see Super Troopers 2 if you're in the US and you're a fan of the cult classic Super Troopers and you're not yet aware, for whatever reason, that Super Troopers 2 has been made. It has been released in theaters, and I highly recommend going to see it. It's actually got a pretty good viewer review score on various sources, including Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and as an Indiegogo campaign backer, I've gotten some pretty interesting and quality perks, including a badge, a patch, which, I mean, honestly, I'd like to scan, put that into World of Warships, just for funsies, to confuse people. Some lovely t-shirt paraphernalia and some stickers, as well as a free movie ticket. So I am going to go see that film on Monday. I am excited to see it, super stoked. I have been waiting quite a long time to see a follow-up to the, of course, cult classic Super Troopers. Going forward into next week, not a lot's going on. I don't expect a lot to go on. My father turns a wonderful 63 this year. Expecting a small birthday party for him at his home. And then a week after his birthday party, which is next Sunday on the 29th, on the 6th of May is my birthday party. Of course, I have to think about a couple of different factors, including the fact that, well, my uncle is throwing a housewarming and belated birthday party for himself in a different section of the state, which is linearly not that far away. I mean, he's only like 15 miles away linearly, but he's about hour and a half one way, because it's a 30-minute ferry ride from downtown Seattle, and then an hour drive to his house because he's on the peninsula, and then repeat the same process going back the other way. And of course, that's on the 5th of May. Birthday's on the 6th of May. Did actually decide and confirm with my supervisor that I am going to effectively just work a straight 6, leave at 1, and because that happens to be on a Saturday, which is the beginning of the pay week, I can make up the extra 2 hours later in the week by basically working, well, given how I clock in and clock out, an extra 30 minutes 2 or 3 days in the week, and then I'll be fine. I'll have plenty of time. Hell, I might even end up with overtime in spite of all of it. But that's the plan going forward. Super Troopers 2 Monday, and I will definitely let you know how I enjoy the video next week. Father's birthday party and my birthday party in 2 weeks from now. As always, I'll see you next time, and this is Captain Rye, signing off.